So, in this talk, I want to talk about being an activist, standing in our power, supporting each other, and collaborating together. As far as empowerment goes, I truly believe the beauty of empowering others is that your own power is not diminished in the process. When I recently interviewed Gloria Felt, who has a new book about power, I kept thinking, as women, we are so good at empowering each other. But often we fail to stand in our own power. And it got me thinking about how does this apply to redefining leadership and how we are truly going to reshape the world. How does empowerment and being in our own power work together as women? So I'll do the next slide. How many of you have been river rafting before? That's me, flying out the seat of my pants. In 1995, I want to share I want to share about how I think we can learn about empowering and being in our own power by learning the techniques of being a female river raft guide. In 1995, I had an opportunity to guide my very first commercial trip, which meant I was actually getting paid for this. I had gone down numerous times on the river with my friends and training, but this was the first time I was getting paid for it. It was with a fabulous women-owned business, and the crew that we were taking down were all women. Now, you can look at the size of me. I'm not that big of a person, and I was quite frightened because I was going down part of the river that has a rapid called Meat Grinder. And I had not really guided Meat Grinder that much, so I was kind of just going by the seat of my pants, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to be in my power. And the women were really supportive. They were female police officers, and they only had the best intentions for me. Did I tell you Meat Grinder is the very first rapid when you start your trip? So we load all in, and by the way, Chastity Bono was also on that trip. The BBC was filming it. Fortunately, she wasn't in my boat. So here we are, getting ready to go down. Meat Grinder is, and some of my friends who are here are river raft guides. Meat Grinder is a continuous roll of waves. We hit wave number 1, all's good. We hit wave number 2, looking really good, feeling really good. Wave number 3, the raft tips up directly to the sky, flips over. We are all swimming in the water. This isn't good for river rafting, by the way, when you're taking paid customers down. And they say in the river, as Susie talked about, you just go with the flow, you put your feet up, and you just kind of push yourself off things in your just present moment, hoping that you're going to be okay. Amazingly, we all made it into the boat. But I had lost my guide paddle, which is generally a little bigger. And I was pretty shaken up, and everyone's like, are you okay? What happened? I'm like, I don't know. The boat just flipped over, and then all of a sudden we're all swimming. So now I'm thinking, oh my God, I have to guide down the rest of this river. I still have the whole journey to go. And the women, God bless them, they were nothing. They were totally fine. They thought it was like part of the joyride. They had no idea. And sometimes I think as women we do that, right? Going into situations where we do best, we have no idea what we're getting ourselves into. So I had their faith in me, and I thought, Elisa, you need to be in your power. But the other thing I had to do is I had to empower these women. Most of the guys who are river guides are totally fine guiding down the river themselves with their guide paddle. But let me tell you, as a woman, it's a different story. So now I don't have my guide paddle. I'm thinking I need to empower these women to get down this river. Now this was a different trip, but my paddle is not in the water. In fact, it's called hospital bar, and you actually launch into the front of the boat when you go down this rapid. So this is a situation where you're empowering. So that whole time, going down troublemaker, going down hospital bar, empowering the women, being in my power. I was like, hard paddle left, hard paddle forward, forward paddle. And all the women are just digging in, and it's very invigorating, as you're calling out these commands. And it really doesn't have very much at all to do with my actual muscle strength. It's all in my power and myself and empowering these other women as a result. We had to work together to get down. Okay, now you're going to make me cry. It's my sister over there. We had to work together as a team to get down that river. I'll go to the next slide, please. How does that apply to what we're facing in the world right now? Well, I can tell you in reforming and reshaping as women what the world is going to look like. I truly believe it's going to take all of us to not only empower each other, but to act into action, to be activists in our own right, with whatever you love, and stand in our own power. But we cannot do this alone. Now the guys, as we've heard with the numbers and Nancy Pelosi speaking, they've been doing this for a long time. They have the Good Old Boys Club. They have the support. And now they can be in their power, and it doesn't really matter sometimes if they're empowering others, but as women, do you think we're going to have to work together in a critical mass? We got down that river, and we made it safe and sound, and the women were so high off of that experience with the stories they could share about how they worked together. And so my message is tonight is that I think we can take those capabilities of women, those strengths that we have to empower each other, but we need to do it together. This is another example where my friend and I actually, co-led a river rafting trip. We actually guided together. And I think that's really important because all of us need to do that. The other part it reminds me of is sisterhood. Now, some of my colleagues, Marilyn Nyborg's here, for example, is from the generation where you believe in sisterhood. And for me, it often resonates of the 60s and the 70s. I'm like, no, we're women, and forget about the sisters. And I had this epiphany the other day. Now you can go to the next slide, please. And I thought, a friend might be with you forever. They might not. A friend you often have commonalities with, right? You often share similar values. A friend might backstab you. A friend might not be your friend the next day, but a sister... It's hard to be my sister here. A sister is there forever. And you may have times, like my aunts, where you don't talk to each other for 10 years. It's true. And God forbid, do not like each other or their husbands or their animals. However, this is why sisterhood is so important. When we are in a crisis situation and the world is crying out, like I think it is right now, the sisters are there for each other. And my aunts, who hadn't talked to each other for 10 years, when their mother died, I called up the other sister that had not been in the family, and I gave her the information about her mom passing. And would you believe they are now friends again? They saw each other through that crisis. I think as sisters, that's what it's about. If you look to the woman next to you, They are your sisters. You might not agree with their passions, you might not agree with their values, but you can support each other no matter what. This picture is from when I was a co-leader of the Student Conservation Association. And we got the opportunity, this is about 15 years ago, to co-lead the first all-female group. We had 2 Latinas, 1 African American, 1 Caucasian, and 6 Chinese girls, who, by the way, had never been outside hiking. They showed up in cute little clothes, wondering when the next TV show was going to be on, when they could go shopping. We're like, no, this is trail work. It's hard work. And believe me, there were so many differences with these girls. But the joy was that at the end of the experience, we took them all backpacking to Yosemite, and we went to Lassen, and this was the end. And I think we all have that potential as women and sisters. Thank you.